Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Shooting the Shelf here on Just Shelve It. I am Jesse Arnold, and with me is my new fearless co-host, Curtis Ackerman. How are you doing
Hey,
tonight,
everybody.
Curtis?
Doing excellent. Excited for season 2, episode 1,
Yes.
big guest.
Absolutely. Yeah, I decided I was doing my seasons based on the year, not time of the year when I started, just so start off the year fresh instead of carrying over. So season 2, episode 1, we're just going to jump right into it with the one and only Cornboy from FourHorsemen Studios.
Woo!
And hey, CB.
Hey, fellas, how you guys doing?
Doing excellent.
Awesome.
Doing great. Thanks for joining us tonight, Cornboy.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to be on episode 1 of season 2. How many episodes did you have of season 1? Like, when did you start season 1?
I started that, I think, late summer. I think we got up to like episode 20. As I'm pulling this up here, 24, I think, guest episodes. A Christmas special with my siblings, and then a live on Christmas Day with
Nice.
some people just customizing. So, so not quite 30 episodes, and that was
That's
pretty much
cool.
every Sunday.
Wow.
Yep.
So
this year it's going to be 52 episodes, huh?
that's
Or
the
more.
plan.
Had a couple double Sundays last year, right, Jesse?
Oh, that's
Didn't we?
right. There were a couple. There were some doubles. Yes, there was Emil and Pete on the same day, and then Eric, LeBron, and David Williams Saturday and Sunday. So
Yeah, I think we're gonna probably have a few people that this time frame might be a little bit late for them, so we may need to do it early. So on those ones, we may end up with a double episode. So
yeah.
For some reason all week I was thinking that we were doing this at like 7 or 8 p.m. and then I got the message from Jesse. Yeah, it's at 9. I was like, oh, all right, okay. I would have been early. I wouldn't have been late.
Oh, sorry if I made any confusion there.
No, it was all me. Obviously, I'm always confused.
Some comments going on about the bandana. Yeah, my hair's just messy, so I guess as Curtis took over Len, the Wolf King, I guess I'm the Wolf King tonight.
There you go. Yeah, you're the Wolf King now. We do have quite a few people in chat. Looks like we got 30 people in chat. A lot of comments going on. We'll try to get to some of those as much as we can.
Sure.
We did have a post in the Cabal too with some questions for Cornboy. We'll get to. We selected 10 of those that we liked the best, so we'll get to those later as well.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
I will answer whichever ones that I'm actually capable of answering.
There you go.
I think we weeded them down to be ones that you should be fairly capable of answering these.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so 30 people watching. I think this is the highest live attendance that we've had. So
now I'm going to have to actually do good, huh?
There you
go.
I mean, pressure's on.
Nah, no pressure. That's just thank you for that. So obviously you work for FourHorsemen Toys, and you're real involved with Mythic Legions and all of that. Well, this might be a little bit of a repeat question, and this is me asking. Like, can you just brief overview, like what it is you do at the studio?
Well, it used to be when I first started, it was I handled most of the fabrication. That's creating the mechanical elements, weaponry, articulation, all that kinds of stuff in action figures, and then a little bit of sculpting here and there. Not really figural sculpting, more like accessory sculpting, things like that. And lately, though, since we've gone digital, I've become much more of a project manager than I am an actual, hands-on artist. Eric does 99.9% of the Mythic Legions and Cosmic Legions work. And then everything else we do, like any side projects that we have with like Super 7 or some of the smaller companies that we're doing work for. And Icon Heroes, anything we've done work for Hasbro in the past and other companies that we use other sculptors outside the main studio on, or even a couple of them in the studio. I oversee that and give art direction and just kind of manage the projects now. So
Okay.
a little bit more work than doing fabrication and all that other stuff because I'm overseeing a bunch of other projects and a bunch of sculptors and stuff like that, rather than just doing my own project and getting that done and moving it down the road. So
Gotcha.
I don't know, working harder
Okay.
than I was now, especially now that it's digital and I work from home a lot more than I used to at the studio because of COVID. And I've got issues where if I catch COVID, it'd probably be really bad for me. So I stay away from it. So I work from home a lot, and I find myself, or I did for a long time, found myself not giving myself a quitting time. Like the computer's right here, all the work's right here. I could just keep going and keep going. And I'd work till like 2 or 3 in the morning, you know, and then get back on it at 10 a.m. till 2 or 3 in the morning. And I was being told from multiple sources, you shouldn't do that. You should make yourself a quitting time, even if you're at home, and just stop. So sometimes now I'll work, I don't know, 4 hours during the day, and then I'll take a break and do things that need to be done. Then I'll jump on for another 4 hours. So it's a late night, but it's a broken up day instead of all at once now. So it's much more manageable.
Excellent.
It feels like you are, out of the Four Horsemen, you are the one that we see the most in terms of, you know, whether it's on social media or these type of interviews, that kind of thing. Is that being the face of the Four Horsemen? Is that kind of something that's intentional, or just kind of happens that way that you're the most active in these arenas?
I think I got the biggest mouth. I think that it started out as there were 4 of us originally, and I was the best at like doing public speaking and interviews and everything, because I was in a band years and years ago, and I'm just like really easily am open about like speaking to the public. I don't have problems with public speaking, things like that. So it kind of started out that way. And as the years have gone by, Jim and Eric have both gotten much more comfortable about doing that kind of thing. So thankfully they've taken some of that, and they're doing interviews and podcasts and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just more of the fact that I'm more of a big mouth, and I'm more active on social media and stuff like that. And I'm probably a bigger geek than both Jim and Eric too. I definitely am into comics and toys and games and cartoons and stuff as much as, if not more than Eric, and definitely more than Jim. So maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just a little bit of a, social media personality, I guess. I don't know how to explain. I'm not a personality. I'm just on it more. Eric and Jim,
you're definitely a personality.
Don't agree that much social media at all. But now we've got Jeremy. Jeremy's taken lots of those loads off of my shoulders, and man, he's one of the best investments we've made as a company in a long time.
Yeah, that was cool to see him get that new position last year, and there's been a lot of good stuff. I like how it seems like you guys are really hitting your stride lately. Not only the product line and the different things you guys are coming out with, but the schedule, the releases, the communication, like everything really feels like it's gelling right now.
Like we always just kind of like fly by the seat of our pants. That's the way we've always done, and it's worked out pretty well for us. But Jeremy is amazing at cracking that whip and giving us a schedule and saying, here's how these things need to be laid out. And he works with Chris, when Chris Gorich, our project manager, production manager, he works with him on, the timing of the factory production and how we're going to release the news to the public about these things. And it's just amazing. Like the way he's kind of turning us into a organized machine that we really didn't ever plan on being. It's pretty incredible. And it's a Herculean effort, I got to say. I mean, he definitely puts the time in for it.
I can't say from personal experience that I know what that was like before, because I've really been in the community and following all that stuff since last Legions Con. Because I've said on the show, when I went to Legions Con in 2021 with Sean, he's like, "Oh, look, there's Jim and Cornboy," and I was like, "What's a Cornboy?" I just was so not in it. And even though I had Spawn figures, McFarlane stuff back in the day, like I didn't know who you guys were until sometime last year, really.
You know what? Speaking of that, a lot of people are asking about like what toy lines and stuff that we worked on over the years since we've been in the toy industry. And I've put a list together of everything. And I sent it over to Jim and Eric to go over for approval, just to make sure that I didn't miss anything, or that there's nothing that they want to have included, or anything that they want to have taken out, or whatever the case may be. But that list is over 18 pages long. So
wow.
it's a
crazy.
big list. So we're going to have that up pretty soon. Eric and Jim are going over it. And once they get done with it, then I'm going to clean it up and pass it off to Jeremy. And then it'll be up on Source Horsemen, everything we've ever done so far.
That's
wow.
Cool.
That's really cool. Yeah. I definitely saw a thread about that this week.
Yeah.
People were commenting and asking, so that'll be cool to see.
Coming soon. Like more as the fandom for Mythic Legions and Cosmic Legions gets bigger and bigger, a lot more people are saying, "Hey, I got this and just found out that the Four Horsemen did this." And so hopefully this list will be compiled where people will be able to go through and pick out all the things that they really like, that they might have in their collection already that we've done, or they might want to look for, on eBay or at toy shows or whatever.
I have Sean and I, there's a local toy shop that Sean and I and Douglas Tupper, who's watching, because we're all in the same area, this used toy store we go to, and he buys collections in from people, and every time I see like Total Chaos stuff on the wall, I look for the Cornboy figure to see if it's in there now.
My brother actually collects those. Like, he'll go on eBay. He said, you used to go on eBay and be able to find them for $3, $5, $7 or whatever. And he said now they're going up in price, so he doesn't buy them anymore. He said he can't find them for like less than $20, so he's done.
Yeah. As soon as I heard about that figure, I knew I had to get one to get you to autograph at Legions Con. So I'm glad to have that in my collection.
While you guys were out this way for Legions Con, did you get a chance to go around any of the local used toy stores or anything?
No,
it was all just about Legions Con.
Yeah, it was so busy. I mean, I know both of us were at Intern, me and Jesse, and it's like between Intern and G-Con and the 2 days at Legions Con itself, and then the, after parties in the hotel lobby. I mean, it was a whirlwind for sure.
Yeah.
So
I know last year Sean and I
to do anything else.
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, Sean and I swung by Zap Comics last year as we were leaving the area. But we didn't even get to go to, we talked about going to, was it Chubsy's is right down the street from you guys?
Yeah.
And we didn't even make it to that. There's just so much going on. Yeah.
There's a couple of good, like vintage / new toy stores in the area. So next time you guys are out this way, I'll give you a short little list that you might want to hit while you're here.
Excellent.
That's cool. So you had mentioned, you're really into toys and comics and music, and wanted to kind of take us back a little bit, talk about young Cornboy. What did a young CB, like, what was your things that you remember from childhood that really excited you?
This scary thing was my very first toy that I remember.
Yeah.
I was a little kid, and this is all backwards. It used to have eyes, and the top of its hat wasn't all chewed up, and it still had fingers at one time too. But yeah, this thing is a frightening monstrosity now, but it's my Aunt Jenny got this for me when I was a baby, and I slept with it. This has been torn apart. My mom sewed it back together here, and I've had this since I was a kid. Oh, it used to have feet too, big rubber feet. But right here, there's a little sharp area sticking out. I guess this head is held on with a wire, and there's a little wire. You can't see it, but this tiny little ultra sharp piece of wire, they used to wake me up in the middle of the night when I was like sleeping on it and stuff by cutting my face open. So yeah, that's how my childhood started, getting cut open by a nightmarish monkey. But my big thing that I collected with the kid as a kid was Migos. I loved the 8-inch Migo figures and Micronauts when I was a kid. It was like those two lines were it for me. I had a friend, Danny Smith, who he was more into Hot Wheels and stuff, but he collected some of the Migo figures. He was more into the Planet of the Apes So for Christmas one year, he got the tree house, and I got a bunch of the figures. So, and he had a couple of figures, and we played together with that. And then when it came to Micronauts, we both got into Micronauts real heavy. And I grew up as kind of a poor kid. I didn't have a lot of money. So Christmas time, you know, my mom and dad got us what they could, and we were always really appreciative of it. But this time, Danny and I planned it out where we wanted a bunch of Micronaut stuff. So he asked for some stuff, but I asked for some stuff. But we made lists so we wouldn't cross over. So he would get a bunch of stuff, and I would get a bunch of stuff. We could play together. It wouldn't be a bunch of the same stuff. So we played. Micronauts was my big one, and
any problems with that?
My most influential toy line ever, because that's why I'm into Mezco so heavy now, is because of Mego figures.
Gotcha. Any problems with those lists where you wanted something on your list that he really wanted on his, and you guys had to?
We're really cooperative, and I was a lot bigger than him, so I kind of told him which ones he should pick and which ones I would pick. But I was always into like the bad guys and monsters when it came to toys, so. And he was more into the good guys, so we didn't really cross over that much. It wasn't too tough.
Gotcha.
Excellent.
And then as you got older, like any other lines that, like, you know, specifically action figures that you got into?
By the time I was like I wasn't one of those collectors that would just be, I'm going to collect this line or collect this line, except for Mego and Micronauts when I was a kid. I would just pick up toys here and there that I liked. But then I discovered girls and cars and stopped collecting for years. Stopped playing with toys. I didn't stop playing with toys. I just didn't carry them around with me or play with them so much out in the open. It was just every once in a while when I wasn't, you know, out running around being a butthole of a kid, I would go home and play with toys. But I stopped collecting for a long time, and then got married, had kids, and then kind of rediscovered comics and toys and stuff like in 18, 19 years old, something like that. So
okay,
it was a long time.
What was it that pulled you back into comics?
Let's see. I think my first comic was Marvel 2-in-1 starring The Thing. My brother had comics when I was little, and I always liked them. And then I got a Marvel 2-in-1 starring The Thing, and the other guy in it was Stingray. And this character named Piranha that I'd never seen was in there too. And I loved those characters. I thought they were super cool. And it came in, I got it for Easter in an Easter basket. It was like, you know, one of those cheesy Easter baskets you just pick off the shelf at the store, and it has a comic book in it. And it had that in it, and I loved it. And so I started getting Marvel 2-in-1 starring The Thing. It was an older comic at that point because it had been put in the Easter basket. But then I started getting back into comics, and Fantastic Four was it. Like when I had the Mego figures, the Mego Fantastic Four figures, especially The Thing, was my big thing. And when I discovered that The Thing had his own comic, that was it. I started like picking up every Marvel 2-in-1 I could find, every back issue, and then I got back into Fantastic Four, and then I started getting really heavy into comics. I was at that point, I was probably spending, I don't know, by the time I was really getting back into them real heavy a few years later, probably $70-$80 a week at the comic book store. Wow. So it was a lot of stuff, and I still have. I've gotten rid of a lot of stuff, but there's still tubs and tubs in the garage stuff that I probably don't even really need in my collection because it's in tubs in the garage and sit out where I can read them. But I don't know. It's a sickness.
What specifically about Thing really connected with you? That
I don't know. You know, I've always liked. In any genre, I've always liked the guys that were like these big, square, blocky guys. You know, they're almost as wide as they are tall. Like nowadays, they depict the Thing in comics and action figure form as being like 2 or 3 feet taller than, you know, the normal size characters. But when I was a kid, he was the same height as Reed Richards, but he was just as wide as he was tall. And I just really liked that. And the thought of this guy who was not the strongest, even though he looked like he should be the strongest. He was not the strongest character in the Marvel comics. And he was always kind of down on himself, even though he was this big hero and he had this heart of gold. I don't know. It just spoke to me. I just loved that. I thought that was awesome.
That's cool.
Awesome.
And orange was never my favorite color, but for some reason I love that orange rocky monster.
Nice.
Well, speaking about
one of the
Thing,
reasons Bronis, the arena troll, is orange now, because of my love of the Thing. Eric knew that when he was doing that figure.
Nice. Go ahead, Jesse.
Very cool. I was going to say, with, do you keep up with the Marvel movies at all? Is that something that's on your radar, or
Oh yeah,
are you excited for what's coming?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm deep into all the MCU stuff. I would like them to be exactly like my comics, but I know that that's never going to happen. But I got to say, man, they've done a really good job of coming pretty close to the comics that I grew up reading and everything. So I'm really happy with them. The Phase 4 stuff, I don't know, little iffy here and there. But when they first released the original first phase of movies, there was no real direction. Oh, this is all going to one place then either. So that's what Phase 4 is. It's their building period where eventually this stuff will come into at least one direction and possibly two big directions. So there may be, so I don't really have that big a problem with it yet. I know a lot of people are dissatisfied with Phase 4, but I realize that it's just a building period. And I think that it's going to become as big as the phases 1 through 3. But yeah, I'm big into those. Even that when the stuff comes out, I want to see it on opening day. And I'm never like that with movies. I want to be there when there's no crowds. For some reason with the Marvel stuff, I want to be there on opening day. When the stuff comes on Disney Plus, the series and stuff, I want to see it the night that it's released, or at least the next day, if not the night that it's released. So, yeah,
I work.
That stuff.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Go ahead, Curtis.
I was just going to say, is that because you're that excited to see it, or because you don't want to be spoiled by anybody?
Oh, I don't care about spoilers at all.
Gotcha.
I've never cared about spoilers. Like a lot of times when there's a new Marvel movie coming out, I will go and look for spoilers. Like I'll read the whole thing and I'll know what's going to happen. I still love it.
Yeah.
So I don't care about spoilers. So it's not that. I'm looking forward to seeing it so much that I go ahead and watch it. Even if it's a series like the Miss Marvel series, I wasn't really all that into it. I liked it pretty well by the end of it, but I wasn't all that into it. But every episode that came out, I wanted to see it as soon as it came out. So
I work.
I'm a simp for MCU, I guess.
Nothing wrong with that.
I don't.
My mom
collect
lives
the
in
figures though. I only want to see the movies and the TV series. I'm not into the MCU figures for some reason. They're well done, just not my thing.
Yeah, that kind of the Infinity War and Endgame kind of reignited my because I was collecting pops mostly. Those got me really back into action figures, and I think I have 2 of them left anymore. Like I had that whole scene. Everyone it was out at the time of Endgame. The Thanos scene where the on your left. I had every character they had at that point. And I think I have like I said, I have 2 from that time left.
Wow.
So is that what got you really back into adult collecting, Jesse? Was the Marvel movies, or were you already collecting other stuff besides?
I had some things here and there. And like I said, I was mainly doing pops at that point just because of the consistency across the size and all the variety of it. But yeah, those got me really back into that, and Black Series really got me back into action figures. And then when I found Mythic Legions last year, that was close the book. That's it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I always apologize to people when they find Mythic Legions and say, now I have to have this and I have to have that. Feel sorry for them. I know the feeling. I'm like that with Mezco. So I absolutely know the feeling. And it happens to us again and again. Like when we're at shows and stuff, somebody comes up and says, what is this? And we talk to them about it. And if they happen to buy one, if they're around the show for any length of time, they often come back and buy another. I opened this and it was great. I love it. I want to get this one and this one. We've had people that came and bought a couple of figures, and then by the end of the day, they bought $1,200 worth of figures. And it's like, that's astounding to see that happen. And then they're one of the bigger collectors, like in the Cabal a month later. They're like, I started collecting this a month ago, and now I have 150 figures. You know, it's utter insanity. I appreciate every second of it. It just mystifies me, but I understand it because I have that same sickness with the Mezco stuff. I have most of the Mezco stuff. I have at least one of everything they've made, and oftentimes two of everything that they've made. And I'm collecting Marvel Legends in order to eventually make my own Mezco 112 style customs out of Marvel Legends. I've already done it with a few figures.
Nice.
There's something to be said about getting one of your guys' figures, whether it's Mythic Legion or Figure Obscura. I know has gotten a lot of love, especially with the Headless Horseman and a lot of these top 10 videos.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to be said for getting one of those in your hand if you've never had one, and it kind of spoils you for other lines. Like I did a live on the support group today for My Wife Is Going to Kill Me, and was opening up this Mafex Gambit, and it's a great figure. It looks awesome, but when you've held Mythic Legions figures in your hand and posed them and all this and that, there's something. I don't know. It felt light. The joints were really loose, and it's a great looking figure, but it's just not the same quality. So you guys have kind of spoiled us on, with what you've put out.
Well, it's because we're geeks too, so we know what we want to see in a toy. So especially Chris Gorich, who is handling all the production on stuff, he's a bit anal about that stuff. Like when we get test shots in, or get the original fine cuts in or something, he is like super anal about every little detail and every little aspect of it to make sure it's exactly the way we want to see it. Obviously, because it's mass production, there are little mishaps here and there, hopefully some that we can correct on the next round or whatever, but we know what we want to see as toy collectors. And I mean, I think we've kind of like struck a nerve on a lot of other toy collectors as to what they want to see too. I've seen a lot of people complain about the fact that our figures aren't double jointed in the knees and elbows, but these kinds of figures, like as big and bulky as they are, our feeling has always been that the larger figures don't need that double knee and double elbow. I understand, like to hold a sword or to hold a gun the right way, you need some of that, or we can adjust that elbow articulation and that knee articulation to get a little bit bigger bend, which I think people are going to appreciate when they get the latest Night body that came with the Necronomous line.
Mm-hmm.
It has a little bit tighter of a bend in the elbows and knees. I think they're going to like that. So we'll make adjustments here and there, but double knees, double elbows, that's for Spider-Man type characters. If you want to get in these crazy poses. I mean, you're not going to want, Gideon Heavensbrand in a crazy Spider-Man like pose. He's not going to do
never
it.
Get up.
He's wearing full plate armor. How's he going to do that?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I like about the fact that you guys don't do the double jointed limbs is that the way that not only the way that you have your joints, but then you also have like the layered armor over the joints. Mm-hmm. It really photographs well. Like you look at some of the photography that we see with Mythic Legion, and I think that it's probably one of the most photographed line in terms of trying to create these realistic scenes. It looks like it's something straight out of a movie. It doesn't look like a figure. Whereas if you look at one of these, if it like a Marvel Legends figure or something like that, you can tell just by looking at it. You can see all the cracks in the joints and stuff. That's a toy. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Because one thing that we have strived for throughout our toy making career is form combined with function. Some people like form over function. Some people like function over form. That's your own personal choice. But we like to combine the two and try to find that optimal combination of the two, to where you have this beautiful sculpture that also has great articulation. It may not have double articulation because maybe that would mess up the form a little bit, but we're not completely cutting out our articulation. It's got nice enough articulation that it makes the form look good. I mean, that's just what we've tried to work for ever since we were back at McFarlane Toys. We always try to do form with function, not form over function or function over form.
Gotcha.
That's like, for me, some of the stuff I really got back into collecting when I was in college. Like I had some stuff, but when I was in college, I was 16 hours away from home. I had my own money, so that's when I got into, it was the late 90s. So I got into the Spawn stuff. So like what was it? The medieval Spawn where he's like bent over and he's got the mask that comes off and it's got the skulls on the spikes, and super awesome figure, but like he was never going to be in anything but that pose.
Yeah.
Whereas like you're talking about the Spider-Mans with the double, I think Mythic Legions hits that right balance between, like you're saying, the form and the function, and yeah, I think that's really one of the best things about the line.
I mean, we try to, we try not to suck, but the like the thinner, like the elves, or the goblins, those types of characters, maybe putting a double knee or double elbow joint in them would work as far as getting, this functionality of like really crouched poses and stuff in. But then the form would be screwed up because like a lot of the elves and goblins, if you put those double knees and double elbows in there, you're going to be able to get them into some spectacular poses. Pardon the pun, spectacular Spider-Man. But when you bend those, you're going to see a lot of those joints. I mean, they're really going to be noticeable. It's not, I mean, obviously when you pose Mythic Legions figures, you're going to see some joints. It's just not as, it's not as noticeable.
The figure that got me back into adult toy collecting was the classic Stratos. I had no idea that that line even existed. Like it was well into that line, existence before I noticed it. I'm actually at a flea market and I saw one loose and I'm like, what is this? Like, I've never seen anything like this. Like,
But wait, had you seen the vintage Masters of the Universe before?
The ones from the 80s?
Yeah, the old school.
Yeah. I had all those. I had all the original Masters when I was a kid. But when I saw that Classics figure, I'm like, what is this? It's like, because, I know Stratos gets a lot of heat. A lot of people don't like Stratos, but it was one of my favorite figures. Favorites. Yeah, I mean, he's got wings and a jetpack. Like, what's better than that?
Plus, he's like a flying monkey to me. That's why I love him so much.
Yeah. So I loved Stratos. So when I saw that Classics one at this it was like a flea market, I asked the guy, I'm like, what is this from? Like, do you know what this line is? And he told me it was, Motu Classics. And I went heavy into that. Like, I just dove right in. And this is after, it's well into that line. So obviously I was paying pretty big bucks for some of those figures. And then, obviously I got into Mythics from that because I was following the Podcasters of the Universe, and Steven sent me a Lord Dragul and it was game over. So yeah.
Oftentimes that's the entry point for a lot of Masters of the Universe fans, is they pick up one of our what do we call it? We don't call them homage figures.
Yeah.
One of our PowerCon
debut. Yeah.
Yeah. And they go, whoa, this looks like so-and-so. Oh, wait a minute. That looks like this character. And that one looks, and they realize that we've done like homages to some of the Masters of the Universe characters that we've worked on with Mattel over the years. And so they pick those up and then they realize, oh, these are pretty cool. Maybe I should try some of the other parts of that line. And they kind of get sucked in that way. That's not why we plan to do it. We plan to do that simply because we were doing PowerCon and we wanted to do something special for Val, the guy who runs PowerCon, and the show and the fans, as kind of a tip of the hat to Mattel allowing us to play in that that sandbox for so many years and have so much input and creativity into Masters of the Universe. That's why we started doing that, and it just became a thing where it became an entry point for a lot of Masters of the Universe fans into Mythic Legions. So,
well, and I think it's important to have that entry point for you guys, because as surprising as it is, like I run into toy collectors almost every day that don't know about your line.
Oh yeah.
And I think that the PowerCon debut figures is a nice way to get people to enter into that. I think the figure Obscura has this past year, I mean, especially that Headless Horseman, has introduced so many people to your product that didn't know it before. And you're seeing, people just go crazy over that figure.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. And we're astounded because the new buyers, like people who have never purchased the Mythic Legions or Cosmic Legions before, that have come in and bought Figura Obscura figures, is astounding. It's like sometimes close to 15 to 20% of the purchases are brand new buyers who have never purchased one of our figures before. And that's stunning to us. We never expected that with Figura Obscura. We wanted to release these things that may not fit into Mythic Legions or Cosmic Legions per se, but is kind of built on the same body, the same style, that kind of thing. But we never really, we thought that maybe Headless Horseman would be a good open-ended figure that other people besides Mythic and Cosmic Legions collectors would want. And Krampus, maybe a small percentage of people would be into that. And Father Christmas, I mean, it's astounding how many new Four Horsemen buyers, have never purchased a Four Horsemen figure before that we're aware of. They might have bought them through Hasbro or Mattel or something, but like straight from Four Horsemen that are jumping in on the Figura Obscura line. That's one aspect of it that we kind of talked about it could be, but it's been way more than we were expecting.
Yeah, I think one of the big things is if you're part of this community and when those pre-order periods open, especially for Figura Obscura, because it's usually a small window. Now Father Christmas was open for a few days. But even like your normal pre-orders, it's usually 30 days, sometimes 60 days. If you're part of the community, this, what's going on, and this is the time to get in when the prices are right. But there's a lot of folks that aren't connected to that and aren't aware of what's going on. So, then when they start looking at Mythic Legions, they see the old prices, the eBay prices, the retail prices even, and they think, wow, that's a lot of money to get into these things. And I think that's, once that you guys can order from you directly and get that best price, then it's not so bad.
Well, I think I saw a little bit of evidence of that on somebody posted in the Cabal a video of a toy reviewer who I guess had never purchased a Mythic Legions before. And he bought it, and it was a deluxe Legion builder figure. He was complaining about the price. He was complaining about the lack of paint. And as Mythic Legions collectors, you guys know that's what this was supposed to be. If you would have bought it through Store Horsemen, you would have gotten it cheaper, and it's supposed to not have as much paint as the other ones. This guy didn't know that. A lot of people were giving him a lot of crap about it. Don't talk crap about him. Go over and educate the guy. Talk to the guy and say, listen, go through Store Horsemen and order it when it first comes out for pre-order, and know that they do have these figures that are not much more than that are elaborately painted, and educate the guy. Don't be crappy with him. That's not what the Cabal's about.
Right.
Yeah. It's not Cabal above all because we tore everybody else down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He just didn't know. He wasn't aware of how it worked, and bought a figure that he thought was reasonably priced, and then didn't like the amount of paint on it. And so everybody's allowed to have their opinion. Even if he bought a really elaborately painted figure from us through a pre-order and got it for a decent price, he may still have had the same opinion. I don't know.
Right.
He's allowed to have his opinion, but I didn't see a reason to talk crap about the guy. He's, like I said, instead of doing that, go over to his page and educate him a little bit.
Yeah.
Help him out with his purchases. Send him a nice figure for a decent price, or trade something that maybe trade him one of his Legion builders or something.
It's a good idea. I know Ostradamus in the chat here, he and another guy, Brick Solo, got me and Sean and Masterversal Toy Collectors on to do like a Legions class, because they're Motu guys. So now once a month they have Sean and I come on and help educate about how Mythic Legions work. And one of them was the first one. We talked a lot about the cost, because he got exposed to it because of the Headless Horseman. That's what got Oz into it. So he was looking into it. So he's trying to educate his show base, his community on the pricing and everything. And it's not just eBay prices. So, and then I know Legions Lounge did that during a couple months ago about the Necronomous pricing and everything. And yeah,
I have to tell you, all that stuff, when I hear things like that, it's just absolutely astounding to me, because this is the kind of stuff that Eric, Jim, and I never really envisioned happening with the toy line of ours. Like, it's not like a gigantic moneymaker like Transformers or Star Wars or G.I. Joe or something like that. But the community that has been built around it is unlike any community I've ever seen in my life. I've been a toy collector for decades. And I've been online and been in, toy collecting groups and on Facebook and all over the place and message boards and stuff for decades. And I've never seen a community like the Mythic Legions community, like going on and helping people out and like literally helping people out. It's unbelievable. It astounds us. We just love it. And to us, it's not really about, selling thousands and thousands of figures and making money. It's about selling maybe a few thousand figures in order for people to get what they like. Like we're finding out that people are into the stuff that we're into. That's really what it's all about to us.
Well, and it's a great place to build relationships and make friends and everything too. And I know Jesse and I have both talked about some anxiety type issues and things that we've struggled with in the past. And it's been a way for us to have a creative outlet for ourselves that kind of takes that stress away. And it's been life-changing. So I know sometimes we say it sounds silly to talk about a toy line and say that it's life-changing, but it has. I mean, it's really affected us in that meaningful of a way.
Whenever I hear that, we've gotten emails from people who've laid out how they're getting into collecting Mythic Legions has literally changed their lives. And I just I get shivers and almost tear up and stuff when I hear about it, because it's something that you never expect. All we wanted to do was make cool toys. We never planned to be bosses of anybody. We never planned to have a freaking convention based around one of our properties. That's insane to me, but it's just an amazing blessing. We can't be appreciative enough about it. And just hearing stuff like that, seeing and hearing people getting their kids into it. There was somebody that posted a photograph on the Cabal the other day that, I lost one of my figures because my son started playing with it and it's his now. And it's that's fantastic. Kids are getting into our action figures. Kids play video games and stuff now. They're not really into action figures and they're into our stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, we kind of just touched on pre-orders and that's the best price. I know you guys do have a pre-order that's open right now. And I think it's the best wave you guys have done. I think top to bottom. I mentioned to some people while we were at G-Con, it felt like you guys took the tooling budget for this wave and just threw it out the window. And you're like, we're just going to make some cool stuff. Looks like we lost Jesse for a second, but he'll be right back. But it kind of felt like you guys just said, we're going to make a cool wave. We don't care how much tooling that it takes. And it was just one after another. As you guys were revealing each figure, I'm like, well, this is the best figure. And then another one would come out and I go, well, now this is the best figure. So
the first time that I saw, I had seen some in I knew most of what Eric was working on, but since I work from home a lot, I don't see a lot of it personally. So I'd seen bits and pieces of them here and there and seen a few of them kind of put together. But the night before we went in to do Intern for a Day and G-Con, we were there. Well, actually, we did Intern for a Day. And then the next day, we're doing G-Con for the big reveal. That night, we were there really late. And I was sitting there putting prototypes together. And it was the first time I had seen many of those complete as one figure. And every one I put together, I was astounded even more. I was giddy. I was like a kid putting those things together. Some of them were really frustrating because they were hard to put together because we weren't gluing everything in place. We were using this sticky stuff and things kept falling apart and stuff. But every time I put one of those together, I was like, holy crap, how did Eric even do this? This is not possible. That skeletal horse, I can't wait till people get that in their hands. Yeah. That thing is stunning in person. It's stunning. You guys were there for G-Con. That thing is crazy in person, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's awesome.
That's my most anticipated figure from the wave is the horse, is Conobus.
Yeah, well, the other figures, nothing against the other figures, they're all astounding too, but that horse, is just incredible.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. What is your favorite from the wave? Is it the horse, or is there another?
No, it's the I can never remember how to pronounce his name, the
Tuberculi.
Yeah, I call it tuberculosis.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. That thing. Oh, I love that figure. And I told Eric after I got him put together in preparation for G-Con, I walked over to him and said, I love that figure. That's my favorite of the wave, but you have to make me a monkey or gorilla skull or something for it. So he's going to make me a skull for it. And maybe someday we'll release it, but it's going to have like a monkey or gorilla skull on mine, or on at least one of mine. I'm probably going to have a few of those.
Head pack 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the artwork that Emil did on the Belualith?
Oh yeah.
And he had all those tuberculi or whatever. He had them flying in the background, like almost kind of felt like Wizard of Oz, like the flying monkeys and stuff.
Yeah,
it was really cool. Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I think I wanted to add a gorilla head to it. It just had like those big long arms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take 2 sets of those big arms and put on him, so he's got 2 sets of big long arms, and then some sort of gorilla or monkey, skull.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that wave is still up for pre-order till next week, right? Till the 15th?
Yes. Yeah, we got less than a week left on it. So if you haven't gotten in yet, which I think just about everybody probably has, but if you want more, go in and get in on it, because it's going to be ending soon.
Okay.
Well, let's bring that up. Let's bring that up right now.
And yeah, you guys were talking about the tooling costs. Yeah, Eric kind of threw the tooling costs out the window on that one, but it's all planned ahead. Like it's tooling that's going to come into play down the road that's going to be reused. Believe me, I haven't seen the tooling bill on that yet. I'm the one who pays, actually physically makes the payments to the factories. I'm dreading that one. I know we have the money to pay for it, but my God, handing out that much money all at once, whoa, it hurts. It hurts.
There's Conobus right there.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting when we were at Intern. I was in the sculpting session with Eric, and he said, I think at this point I have sculpted every single bone in the human body. And then the next day we're at G-Con, and I'm like, well, he wasn't lying. Like, there it is.
Yeah. He finally sculpted a complete skeleton for us.
Yeah, and every bone in a horse's body, and every bone in a bird's body, and a
tuberculized body.
Yeah. a 2-headed dog.
Yeah, I don't think people were ready for the reveals of this wave. Like, people were saying, even there were reviewers were saying, oh, I would like to see a fully skeletal horse, but they're not going to do that. Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was one of those people. That said there's no way that they're going to do a skeletal horse, because I just didn't know that you'd get enough out of that. But I want to make mention of this figure here. I think the value on this figure, probably one of the best values of any figure I've ever seen. Just with the soft goods. You got a bear skeleton. You got 3 different looks out of one figure for that basic $37 price.
Yep. Yeah, that's a crazy value, but it's really not like you have the full body underneath, and obviously that's a full skeletal body. We're going to be able to reuse that thing again.
Oh yeah.
So that's definitely good tooling. I mean, the main head for the character, it's probably not something that will be reused. It's very specific, so that's probably the only character that's going to be used on. But that robe, and the robe is something that we already kind of have laid out from the wave previous to this, the Poxus wave, the wizard and stuff. So we kind of had all this planned out. The only extra parts on this are the headdress and the main character skull. The rest of the stuff is stuff that we can reuse over and over again.
Well, and I've heard some people talk about, if you use that for a bear skeleton, that robe looks like it would be perfect to make some monks with.
Yeah.
So
I also love in the bio on this character that like his species or race or whatever is listed as unknown. So like whatever that main head is, is something new. And we don't know what it is yet.
It's not just a weird looking skull.
Yeah.
It's not just a deformed human skull.
Yeah.
And then the all-in price, I was surprised at on this too. Like for everything that you guys showed, and you know, you got that giant the ogre on there with all that decorative new chest and all that kind of stuff. Like the 560 on here for an all-in, really good price for everything.
Mean, it's a lot. Trust me, we know that it's a lot. But what we try to do with all-ins, we try to make a value in that you essentially roughly get a free figure, free standard figure if you go all in. We know $560 is a lot to drop, and this time I hope that people think that it's going to be worth the value, because there's a lot of new tooling in this line and this wave, and a lot of new characters that people have never seen before. So far the response has been really overwhelmingly positive. And $560, it seems like a pretty good deal to me. I mean, a lot of people think that's a lot of money to be spending on toys, but in our world, we know what these things go for, and we know how much tooling and stuff goes into them. So $560 seems pretty solid if you add it all up.
Yeah, I'm typically an all-in guy, plus I find one or two extras that I need more of. And for me on this one, it was the Sir Elijah figure. I'm a huge Templar fan, so I went kind of crazy on the Sir Elijahs. I think, that when that figure came out, because that was the first one you guys showed, and I was like, I'm in. Like, you take my money, I'm done. So.
And you've seen the new armored body underneath the soft goods now, right?
Yep. Yeah, and it's got I don't know what you're calling that, new crotch piece or loin piece, but it's like that decorative kind of one. I saw those pictures on your website, or on I guess it's your Facebook page.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a nice. I like that figure it's completely new parts too. Like that's has nothing left over from the original Templar.
Right.
So yeah, that's nice.
I got to throw up Sir Ukzak for Greg.
Absolutely.
Sir Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. A lot of people are talking about multiples of him, but for me personally, like, obviously I want multiples of everything just because they're so cool and customizing. But that chest plate there just feels too unique to have a ton in that scale.
Yeah.
I did have a question on there, because I was hoping for an armored ogre scale, and I love it, but that chest piece is so unique to this character. Is that removable? Is that something that you're going to be able to reutilize for other characters?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think Eric made that a separate piece, but I'm not certain.
Okay.
But if not, that is just like the upper torso area. It wouldn't be too big of an expense for us to make a more basic tool for that, for a standard ogre scaled knight.
Gotcha.
Because we've made a good one, so we can't not make an evil one, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Well,
so we have till what, next Sunday at is it next Sunday at 11 Eastern?
I think that's the time. Yeah.
I know it's next Sunday. I don't know the time. I don't know if it cuts off, what time it cuts off.
I probably should have had that information before coming on here, huh?
Let's see.
I think that it's probably on there somewhere.
I bet Jeremy.
I know knows. I saw it. I know. I just got the email for it, the other day, reminding. And since we're here, I'll bring this up. The gift card is. I was really glad when you guys put this out. I think this is really cool. It's a cool way to help people get into it, or to help offset when the surprise figure obscuras drop, or whenever in stock sales come back, or that sort of thing. So,
did y'all get any gift cards for Christmas?
I have not gotten any from anybody else, but I may give myself one for kind of what Jesse's talking about, so that if a figure obscura pops up and you're not expecting it, You don't have to try to shuffle things around and all this kind of stuff. You've already got that budgeted to the side. So.
We were talking about that the other day. That's the perfect application for the gift cards. Is like if you have a little extra money where you want to put into upcoming Figura Obscuras, buy yourself a gift card, put it away, wait for it. Don't fight the urge to blow it now, and wait until that next Figura Obscura drops, and you don't have to worry about scrambling and trying to scrape up the whatever it is, 80, 100, whatever, 40, whatever price it's going to be.
If you get your tax return in or something, and say, hey, I'm gonna go get a $500 or $1,000 gift card and throw it to the side, and now throughout the year, every time one of those pops up, you've got something there. So
yeah, I think that's a good way to do it.
Cool.
Yeah, January 15th.
We hate that we have people, that we put people in that position where, oh crap, I can't get into this because I'm not going to have this much money, and we understand that, but we also love the fun of just here it is, and just drop something. We're not going to drop a whole wave on you like that, but one figure, a few times throughout the year, why not? And we're doing a thing where if you do miss the original release, we're going to go and do retailer releases of all those characters too. So it'll be a little bit different than the original, but it'll be pretty cool as well. So just wait for it if you can.
Oh, that's cool information, because I know there's some people that missed out on Headless Horseman specifically. So you're saying there should be a retail version of that at some point?
There should be.
Cool. That would be good.
Yeah, Father Christmas. I mean, the positive response to Figura Obscura has been so enormous, and the amount of retailers that want to carry Figura Obscura pieces, the relationships that we have with our retailers, we have to make retail versions of all the releases of Figura Obscura. Obviously, like I said, they'll be different. Just like the Krampus, the retailer version was red. We didn't release those through Store Horsemen. Those were retailer only, and that's kind of like a nod to all of our retailers as a thank you. Here's something just for you guys. And so we're going to continue to do that with all the other releases as well.
Cool.
And I'm sure that theirs will be pre-orders. So you'll have a little bit of time to pre-order the thing instead of just a one-time drop.
Right.
We do.
And you've had some of the Figura Obscura, like you've had the Black Krampus at shows.
Yep.
Not every show, but you have had some stock at different shows. So
at Legions
there
Con,
is a chance.
Yep. You get second chances for a lot of our stuff when we go to shows, because some stuff that we have in our warehouse that we've forgotten about that's sitting in back corners, and we'll bring it out to the shows. You never know what's going to be there.
Well, we're about an hour into the show. Earlier this week, we posted a little post in the Cabal we called Cornboy Says, and we asked people like what kind of questions they were dying to ask you. Obviously, because of the length of the show, and there was a huge response, we can't go through all of them. But Jesse and I selected our favorite 10 that we felt like either you haven't answered before, or maybe you could answer, would generate some good discussion. But just for those watching, things that we didn't include, we're not going to talk about a dragon. That's been asked a million times. I'm sure once they have information, they'll tell us.
The dragon is coming. We have a plan for where the dragon's going to fit in. We are going to do a dragon. He's coming. Just wait. Be patient.
Gotcha. So if you don't see your question on here, it's not because we didn't like it or anything, but for time, we were only able to select a certain amount. There's also a few of the questions that we reworded just a little bit in order to make it, I think, a little bit better discussion point. So you guys okay with us just going into those now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll start. We'll kind of alternate questions, me and Jesse. I'll start with the first one. It comes from Will White, aka Billy Beige, aka the Beige Bomber. What was your favorite figure that you got personally in 2022? And also, do you miss him too?
Yeah, I miss you, Will. That's a good question. What was my favorite figure in 2022? You know what? It has to be. It's got to be 2 figures because I wasn't expecting to like these so much. I'm a fan of Alien and Predator, but I'm not a huge fan. Like NECA has done spectacular work on those for years, and I have not picked up any of them, even though I like those properties quite a bit. But I'm not a huge fan. But of course, I collect Mezco, just every single thing they release, and the Alien I love. I think it's fantastic. They did a great job as a Mezco figure. It has like a metal frame, like a skeleton inside with a rubber outer body. I pray to God that rubber outer body is going to last years, but we'll see. But the Predator that they did is phenomenal. I just top notch. Like their Conan was like one of my favorite figures that I've bought in the last couple of years. But that Predator tops it. It's just a beautiful figure. That's got to be my favorite of 2022, I would think.
Cool.
That's not Four Horsemen.
Yeah, we were kind of thinking outside of Four Horsemen.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. Is I try to make sure, like when I put stuff on my shelves, it's not our own stuff. And when people ask what's your favorite, I'm not talking about our own stuff.
All right,
Excellent.
Jesse.
Okay, from Brian Burke. Any thoughts on putting a band back together? Could we be getting a secret Cornboy track on the Mythic Legions tactic game?
I would like to, but I'm too old and fat to be lead singer for a band anymore. One day, maybe I'll put like a blues or doo-wop band together or something. Why does Brian play guitar or drums or something?
I'm not sure.
Maybe at Legion's time we'll get a bunch of the musicians together and put like a big a show together one night or some kind of jam session.
Should get a group together for do Trogdor, the Trogdor song when you introduce the dragon.
Yeah, but that's not no, there's not going to be any Cornboy vocals on the Mythic Legions game, the Mythic Legions tactics. No, nothing like that.
I know I've seen Jeremy play a couple of instruments, both DeWitt and Gerard.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get them with you and get Pete doing a parody song or something and go from there.
That sounds good to me.
I think Nate Strong said something about shaking an egg at some point earlier in the chat.
There you go. All right. Our next question is, I'm going to butcher this name, Rommel Metrillo. Have you designed a figure that you decided not to produce or move forward with? So you kind of got to the end and we're like, for whatever reason, it just didn't work out.
Yeah, but that's not something we can really talk about. I mean, there's some stuff that we did for Mattel over the years that we did the complete prototype and everything, and then they didn't move forward, both in like DC Universe. We did some prototypes for them for when they got the license for the Harry Potter movie action figures, stuff like that. But our own personal stuff, we can't really talk about because, I don't think that we've ever done anything through, our own stuff that we're like, no, we're not going to do that. But it's stuff we're like, maybe this isn't ready now. When we'll move it down the line, it'll come out with this other stuff. So
gotcha. That's something more postponed than shelved completely.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I mean, people who've been to Intern for a Day a few years ago will know, like we had some goblin heads up on the shelf and a couple other heads that Eric went ahead and made, but hadn't gotten used until like a couple of years later. And there might still be one or two of those heads that haven't been revealed yet. Like people at Intern for a Day might have seen them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if we've shown those yet or not. I think we might have shown them all. But
I remember
the stuff that gets used later on.
When the reinforcement box came out, there was the tease of the Swig head on that before Swig had gotten announced.
Right. Yeah. That was one of those heads that was on the shelf that I was just talking about.
Okay.
Like people who came to Intern for a Day saw it, were sworn to secrecy, and said, we don't have solid current plans for that yet, but we do have some loose plans for that down the road. So we made it now, but it'll get used later on. I know that Eric's done a lot of that with the line, so it's not really anything that we can, talk about.
Sure.
All right.
Yes.
Next up
Jesse.
from Cade Lovin, would you ever consider making a kids line that's more durable, lower price point, less articulation, etc.?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know if it's something that would ever happen with Mythic Legions or Cosmic Legions or even Figure Obscura. Maybe if one of those lines got like a cartoon deal or something like that, then we would expand it into something like that. But we've done lots of more kid-based toys for other companies in the past, so there's no reason why we couldn't do something like that through Four Horsemen as well. Maybe it's a new line that is more kid-based. It has nothing to do with Mythic Legions or Cosmic Legions. Who knows? But yeah,
I want to see
would
that.
never say no to something like that.
I want to see that redesigned Horseman logo as like a little pony head or a pogo stick horse or something.
Yeah, that'd be a great version of it.
Is there one of those kids lines that you guys have done that maybe people wouldn't know? Hey, that's a Four Horsemen design that you could mention.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of them, but there was Hasbro did this line of little bitty. I think they were missing kitties or something like that. They came in a milk carton, and there were these little cartoony kitty cats, and we did like a couple of waves of those for them.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there's more stuff like that we've done too that, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but we're going to be releasing that list with everything we've ever done on it in the near future. So maybe they'll pop up on that.
So we tried to filter out most of the questions. It was like, hey, will we ever see this kind of thing?
Yeah, I can't answer that kind of stuff.
But we did include this one in there because I want to know. Robert Radcliffe says, the last few waves have shown a wide array of new belts. Any chance we could get a belts pack in the future so we could upgrade our older Legions figures?
Well, yes, maybe not specifically a belts pack, but we have done a lot of talking about, we've started to do like different hand packs and things like that. But we've talked about doing accessories packs, which include other belts, like new belts or different belts, and like shoulder pauldrons and different things like that you might not necessarily get. We just don't know. We'd have to include things like some weapons and stuff in there that you can't get anywhere else either, because otherwise we're not going to sell a whole lot of packs of belts.
I'll tell you right now,
pay them out, but they have to cover the cost of production.
I tell you right now, I'd buy a dozen belt packs now.
A lot of people say they would buy them, but when they actually do, it's another question. So
you gotta realize we've got a lot of older Legions figures that just have the simple strap. Yeah, those ones that you guys are putting out now are fantastic. I mean, they just look so good.
Yeah, so we have talked a lot about doing packs of like tertiary accessories like that. So I'm sure it'll happen at some point.
That's cool.
Awesome. Next up from Kevin Dufresne. What makes Fury Clan red? Is it possible for Fury Clan to exist outside of Mythos, say the Fury Core in Cosmeria? Obviously, I know there's probably something you can't say about that, but yeah.
Is it possible for Fury Clan members to exist in Cosmeria? Absolutely. I just got the notification that my phone's 20%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt that those could be included in Cosmeria. Now, what makes them red? Their skin color and everything? That's not something that we're going to reveal.
Not ever, yet. Or just not now?
No. It'll be revealed where the Fury Clan comes from.
Awesome. I love me some Fury Clan.
Me too. Red's my favorite color, so.
Yeah, that red and black, you can't lose with that.
Yeah.
Our next one is from Michael Casper. And he asked a more specific question that I think you probably couldn't answer, but so we made it a little bit more generic. Is there a figure that you would like to see a 2.0 version of, considering your expanded parts library that you now have?
That's a good question. I really love Juno the Crusher, so seeing her in like some kind of war armor would be cool. She's probably not as important enough a character as, say, a Gideon's Heavenbrand or, Gorgo Aetherblade to get a 2.0 figure, but I'd like to see her kind of redone with some extra armor and stuff. I think like everybody else, I'd love to see an Otho 2.0. And, you're eventually going to get that because how can you not at this point?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like Juno in like full barbarian war armor would be awesome. And a new hammer that everybody else doesn't have.
That'd be good.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Lucas Powers asks, do vampires in Mythos make more vampires by the classic method of biting?
I knew this question was coming. We're not going to talk about how vampires in Mythos make other vampires.
Okay.
It can be passed along to like humans and stuff, though.
Okay.
I mean, they're vampires. Vampires do what vampires do.
Yeah. Well, we had Jesse and I had a conversation on whether to include this or not. And as we were thinking through some of the bios, it sounds like, there's some vampires that have children that it sounds like they were born vampires. And
Right.
It sounds like you've got like, what is it? Melena that is like
Yeah.
half vampire, half orc. Is it right?
Yep.
And so it sounds like there's some breeding of vampires, but then also like, can you turn into a vampire? Weren't really sure. So we figured we'd include that and you'd tell us whatever you could tell us. So
you can be turned into a vampire. Melena is that's a strange one because it's a pairing between an orc and a vampire. Vampires are supposed to be undead. How do they procreate,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That will be revealed.
Cool.
I'm calling it now. Dr. Frankenstein is being used by Dracula to make babies like the Van Helsing movie. I'm saying that because I know that's probably not at all even going to be close to the actual story.
All right. Was that one was yours, right?
Yep, that was Lucas.
Jesse?
Yep.
Okay. So then I get Greg. We got a question from Greg. Says Jow Elemento P Ski. Where is the hot sauce?
There was no hot sauce in my pocket. I don't know what that woman was talking about. If it was my front pocket, I could understand why she would be confused. But she was saying I stuck it down my back pocket, and I had no hot sauce in my back pocket. I'll never live that down, though.
And to set the record clear, are you a fan of hot sauce?
I don't even like hot sauce. I don't mind spicy stuff, but I'm not like I don't pour hot sauce on all my food.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's clear now.
Yeah, barbecue sauce I love. Hot sauce, not so much.
Gotcha.
Okay. I got to bring this comment in real quick. Where'd it go? Nate Strong. Time to have the bats and the bees talk.
The bats and the bees, love it.
I mean, Alithia and Xylona's flock. I mean, that's bats and bees right there. I mean,
there you go. It absolutely is.
Yep.
All right. Next one from the one and only Travis Bowles, aka Pelvicus. What's on your must-do list for that place? Muskecon, thank you.
The one thing I have on my must-do list for Muskecon is to experience Travis's basement. That's it. That's the one thing that I got to do.
That sounds like a pretty open-ended answer.
Yeah.
Nice. So
experience Travis's basement.
So it is confirmed that you're coming to Muskecon, and that is March. Is it March 11th? I believe. Let me check my calendar here.
March.
Yes, yeah, March 11th. Anybody else from the studio coming that you know of, or what can people expect to see when they obviously can't tell us individual items and stuff, but is there a Four Horsemen presence at the Muskecon?
Yeah, Jim and I are both going to be there. We might bring out one or two other people for the studio. Eric unfortunately can't be there because it's during his wife's a teacher and his children's spring break. So they're going to be on vacation out of the state at the time. Well, Muskecon is kind of out of our state too, but they're going to be down south visiting family and doing vacation-y kind of stuff during the time. But Jim and Eric, Jim and I will both be there. We were actually supposed to be there, I think it was 2 years ago, right when COVID hit. And we're like, not going to do that. So they had to cancel MesquiteCon, and we didn't get to go out then. So this is going to be our first trip there, and we're looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Did have one comment in here I wanted to bring up. Says, you don't want to see the water plant with Steven?
No, I want to see the salt hills with Steven.
Gotcha.
Go show me the piles of Michigan salt.
Yeah, I mean, he might. I don't know if the grass is going to be growing enough for you to use his lawnmower at that point, but he'll put you to work if you want him to. So that was our 10 questions. We do have one bonus question here. It's from Anthony Houseel. Said everybody's throwing CB the hard-hitting questions. I just want to know, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks.
All right, CB's doing good, everybody.
Yeah, doing really good.
So that's the questions. Appreciate everybody throwing those out there. Once again, if we didn't get yours, not because we didn't like it, but appreciate everybody that contributed to that. So thanks.
No, there were specific people that I didn't like that I didn't want to answer questions.
I'm looking at you, Van.
Now I'm going to go back through the questions on the Cabal and like answer them there.
There you go. That works too.
Give snotty answers that they're not going to like.
Cornboy's just going to reply to people's questions and go, "Oh yeah, this is terrible. I can see why they didn't bring this one up." So we kind of talked about young Cornboy and what he was into. What about today? Like, what kind of things are you into? Collecting, or whether it's music or TV, or what kind of things are you into now?
The big one is, I've already talked about a couple of times, Mezco 112 collective stuff. That stuff to me, it just speaks to me from the time I guess it's like a little bit of nostalgia, and the quality of the stuff is really good. I just love it. I know there's a lot of people who say they're dollies because they have soft goods clothing, but that's kind of what I grew up with. And this is like the stuff that they do now just kind of hits that old nostalgic part of me, but in a much better, more advanced way than it ever did back in the 70s. It's just beautiful work that they do. And another thing that I collect, I'm collecting just about all of them, is the SH Monster Arts figures. It's all like Toho based Godzilla and Gamera and all those monsters. Gamera is my favorite kaiju type monster ever. So I collect all that stuff. Most of the stuff that I collect is either DC or Marvel stuff that I plan on eventually turning into, a Mezco 112 collective type thing with actual soft goods at some point, in my retirement, who knows when, whenever I have time to. But that's the only stuff that I really collect right now.
So speaking of that, do you do some customizing on figures?
Right now, I wouldn't call it customizing. It's more buying heads and soft goods off of eBay and applying them to figures. But I do have plans. I have a couple of printers. I have the resin 3D printer back here. I have a filament printer in there, and so I'm planning on doing it. I need to learn to sew so I can actually make that stuff instead of buy that stuff. But yeah, one day in my spare time that I never had.
I had this question popped up earlier in my head, and someone's asking about it here. What do you think of those the Turtles 4-pack? Did you see that?
I think they're fantastic. They look great, and I was surprised and impressed to find out that they all four come with they each have a different body. They're not the same bodies on each one of them. I can't wait to stand them next to each other. Yeah, and see what the differences are in the bodies. I hope it's not just like the different battle damage on their shells. I hope they're actually slightly different shaped and stuff. It looks like Leonardo's, like the front of his shell almost looks a little rounder, almost like he's got a little bit of a belly or something. So I hope they're actually different scales and different, size. That'd be cool. I don't like my Ninja Turtles to be all exactly the same with different heads. I like them to have slight differences and variations. I saw an artist's rendition of the Ninja Turtles one time where each Ninja Turtle was a different type of actual turtle, and Raphael was like a snapping turtle, and then it was really cool the way it was done, and I like that idea. I'd love to see those turned into figures someday. But yeah, I love those figures, cool. And $400 for a 4-figure set seems like a lot of money, but if you look at it and see all the accessories that set comes with, it's a lot of stuff there. So NECA's figures normally run between $80 and $120, so that $400 price range with all those accessories seems about right.
Yeah, I heard somebody saying that today. Kind of like if you see the $400 tag, you're like, wow, that's a lot. But if it was just $100 each, that sounds right for a Mezco. And it's not like, I don't know too many people who would just be buying one turtle. You're gonna get them. You're gonna get the 4.
Yeah, I think the difference in these is that if they have 4 significantly different bodies, then it definitely makes it well worth that money. If it was just one body they're reusing over and over, and no soft goods, then $100 might seem a little extreme, but they're doing that, and I think it makes it worth the money.
Cool.
I hope they do a single release, just because as much as I love that set, I can't do a 400 on it. It's not bad for what you get, but yeah, I'm a RAF guy, so I've got my Super 7 Turtles and my movie Turtles, the whole clan. But yeah, I'll if they do a single on RAF, I'll grab that.
Yeah. Maybe when I can't imagine them not eventually doing a set that's like more based on the comics where they have just like red bandanas and stuff. It'd be cool if they did it, and maybe they'll release them separately then rather than as one box set. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead, Jesse.
I was moving out of toys a little bit, even though toys is kind of the thing. Any books? I know you talked about the MCU shows and movies, but any other books or movies or shows that you are currently watching or looking forward to in this year?
As far as books, like comic books especially, I've actually been going back and collecting all the Marvel the Marvel Epic Collection books.
Oh, nice.
It's like nice collections of all these old books and stuff, and I've almost got all the Fantastic Four. I had to get this one, The Fate of the Phoenix, because it's John Byrne, and he's one of my all-time favorite comic artists. So I'm going back and buying all those and collecting them. I just went back and got the 3 volumes of this old comic by Michael Golden called The Nam, that's about the Vietnam War, and it's 3 collected volumes of, I don't know, like 20 or 30 issues, but it's fantastic reading. Whether you're into military stuff or not, his artwork is just so unique. He only does like the first like dozen issues, I think, but his artwork's so unique. And Larry Hama was the writer starting out, so that's good stuff. I've been reading that. So a lot of what I've been doing lately is going back and picking up collected versions of comics that I had as a kid that I no longer have, or comics that are in the tubs out there that I never get to read. So now they're on the shelf here. I can just slide it off and go through a few issues and then put it back and then slide it off again when I'm ready to go through another few issues.
Nice. I work
books right now.
I work part-time in a comic shop, so I was really happy when they started putting those editions out. Yeah, it's a lot easier for me to recommend those to people than the $20 black and white ones, because no one wanted those.
No, I didn't want those.
And the hardcovers were $50 to $100 a pop, so those are a really nice thing to get people on.
Yeah, they haven't collected Alpha Flight yet, but I'm hoping that they collect Alpha Flight as an epic collection at some point, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, while you just had that X-Men on there, I was thinking I've got to ask you about this, because Jesse and I kind of differ in opinions on this, but what are your thoughts on the X-Men animated series from the 90s?
The original or the one that they're coming out with, the new
The
one?
original.
The first few episodes were kind of lame, but it got a lot better as it went along. The best part about that cartoon was the opening music, though.
Gotcha.
But as it went along, it got a lot better. But I got to tell you, I think it was called Wolverine and the X-Men or something. It was a series that came out, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. It was a few years later.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like that series better than the 90s X-Men series, which might seem like blasphemy, but it was pretty good.
I think it's on Disney. I might have to check that out. So you said that one's good?
I think it was that one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. It was another X-Men series, and it might have been the Wolverine and the X-Men. And they all had like new kind of updated costumes and stuff, and the animation style, the character, like the styling of the characters and stuff, I thought was cool. A little bit different take. They're still all fully recognizable, but a little bit different take on the characters. But yeah, I like that series a lot.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Like I never read X-Men growing up. I was more of a DC kid. So my X-Men is that cartoon series. Like that's how I was introduced to them. So that's how I know it. But Jesse was more into the comics before that series came out. So to him, it was like, this is not my X-Men. So
no. And you know what? I was never a giant X-Men fan. I was a giant Fantastic Four fan, but I liked the X-Men, and I liked the early X-Men. Like right where they transitioned over from the original team to the new X-Men, you know, and there's a few years gap in between there, but like that team with the Beast and everybody, Angel, Iceman, Cyclops, and Jean Grey, Marvel Girl. I loved that team when I was a kid. But later on, when the new X-Men came out, these guys with Wolverine and Nightcrawler and stuff, I liked them quite a bit, but I was not as big a fan of the original X-Men. But I liked them. But John Byrne came onto the scene, and I was just hooked. I was buying every issue that he put out.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've recent years, the X-Men comics have really gone downhill story-wise, in my opinion, and I've been dying to read good Fantastic Four stuff. So the last 2 or 3 years when they've brought them back after being gone for a couple of years, I've been really enjoying those. So Fantastic Four is probably my favorite Marvel comic at the moment.
Oh, is it good right now? I haven't been collecting it.
I've been enjoying it. They just started a new #1 again, and they're focusing on like the family aspect of it. I mean, it's like, you know, season 17 of the Fantastic Four #1, so it's not like a whole start over, but
yeah. I'm just wondering if they're doing that like now, focusing on the family, because I've heard that before, focusing on the family aspect of it because they know that that's coming to the MCU, and maybe they're being tipped off that that's a little bit what it's going to be like. It's going to be different from some of the other MCU properties, where it's going to be focused less on the superhero and more on the more cosmic stuff versus the family stuff. I think if they approach it in that manner, I think it'll be an interesting movie or whatever they do.
Yeah.
Well, that brings up a good point. Like, so as a Fantastic Four fan, what are your thoughts on the movies that we've seen so far, and what would you like to see from the MCU in a Fantastic Four movie?
In the original Fantastic Four movie that came out, I like the depictions of all the characters except for the Thing. It was terrible. I'm really picky about what the Thing should look like, though, so that's on me. But the stories weren't that great. I hated that Galactus was just a big cloud in the second one, but I loved the depiction of the Silver Surfer. Dr. Doom in the first one was terrible too. I forgot about that. He was very forgetful. And then the kind of revamp that Fox did recently, man, that was rough. That was rough.
We don't have to talk about that.
Yeah, I've tried to watch it twice and never made it through that show.
So what would you like to see from the MCU as they move forward towards Fantastic Four?
Go back to John Byrne's run on the Fantastic. I think it was issue 241 where he took over and then ran with it for a couple of years. Go back to his story. I mean, besides telling the origin story, you got to do that, the whole cosmic ray thing. But go back to John Byrne's run on, I think it was like issue 241 forward, and pull out some of those stories and kind of turn them into the MCU versions of the stories. That was some great stuff. But the Thing has to be a very Jack Kirby-esque, John Byrne-esque, Joe Sinnott-esque thing. If they make him look like just a person that's covered in orange rocks, it's going to be terrible.
Gotcha.
Did you like the way Chickless?
I'm picky about the Thing, so that's just my opinion. But
other than the way he looked in the first two Fox movies, did you like the way Chickless played him?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I thought he played him great. I like the gravelly, literally gravelly voice. I love that. I thought it was great.
I think that's the best part. Oh, go ahead, Curtis. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say the best part of those first two movies was the family dynamic between them.
Yeah.
I think that part worked pretty well. And like the antagonizing, brother friend that Johnny and him had.
Yeah, the first two movies, they weren't terrible movies. I mean, compared to some of the stuff that, has come out in the MCU over the last few years, pales in comparison. But, for that time period, they weren't terrible movies. Their costumes weren't terrible. They just did a bad job in The Thing and Doctor Doom. And then in the next movie, they did a terrible job with Galactus. The scary cloud. Ooh.
So is there anything that you're watching currently that you're enjoying, or anything that you're looking forward to this year that should be coming up?
So now this isn't toy related at all, but like one of my favorite shows or favorite groups of shows on TV is the Gold shows, Gold Rush, and what was the other one? Bering Sea Gold. For some reason, I love those. Every single episode is exactly the same, where they build the drama like, oh no, something happened, and they come back from commercial. No, everything's fine. But for some reason, I love those shows. I love it when they show like the technical aspects of it, where they like do the schematic of the machine that sifts through the gold and everything, and they show you how it works and what broke down on it, what went wrong with it. For some reason, I just love those, and I watch those incessantly. I love those shows. I don't know why. But as far as TV, the only thing that I really watch that like religiously is when Marvel releases something new. I don't watch a ton of TV. When Marvel releases something new on Disney Plus, I'll watch that. I want to watch Kaleidoscope. I don't know if either of you guys have seen that on Netflix yet. I've heard some really cool stuff
I've heard about it.
So it's a series, and each of the names of the episodes, it's like a bunch of episodes, and each of the names of the episodes is a color, and you can watch it in different, like you can look it up online and find out which colors you should watch in which order, in order to create a different type of story for you. And it doesn't change, like each episode doesn't change, but like if you watch it one way, it becomes just like a crazy crime drama. And then you watch it another way, and it almost becomes like a really crazy, like psychic episode, like, it screws with your brain kind of episode. You just look it up. Like Netflix just posted something the other day on the different types of shows you can get if you watch it in different orders. So I'm really interested in watching that in a couple of different orders and see if it really works that way.
Yeah, and I think you can watch it in like a random order where it just like throws it together. So you can either pick it or you can have it randomized. So it's a cool concept. Yeah, for
and
sure.
There's another way that you can watch it where it puts it in complete chronological order. Like if you're looking at a murder mystery, it starts like close to the end and then bounces back and forth. But you can watch it in total chronological order too, which that's something I want to do someday, is sit down and watch all the Marvel movies and TV shows in complete chronological order. That would be awesome. Not when they were released, but when they were supposed to have happened, and watch them like that. But
I did that up through Infinity War. Like Infinity War was getting ready to come out, and I watched everything in chronological order up until that point. Crazy. And now there's just so much of it that I don't know that it'd even be possible at this point, because there's so much stuff.
Yeah, especially if you're including the TV series and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Werewolf by Night, I love that. I thought it was great. I didn't like the design of the werewolf itself. They kind of veered a little bit from the comics, but that's my comic geek side. But the story itself and the way it was done, I really love that.
Oh, and I can't remember that it's man thing. Is that it? The creature?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, the way they did him, I thought that was cool.
He was perfect. He looked awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really
I
good.
really like Elsa Bloodstone, so I was glad to see her get introduced.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't give her the red hair, but
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I would have liked to have seen her a little bit more like the comic with that real long red hair. That's just like that's an iconic look. But
yeah.
for an
Have you ever
obscure
read Next Wave?
Yes, that's one of my
Okay.
favorite comics of all time.
Me too.
Yep, I love that. It's so quirky and off the wall. I loved it.
Yeah, and I love all the little comments like saving America by punching people in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's such a fun comic.
Yeah, it's good. I highly recommend.
And that's where they changed her, right? That I think because she used to be blonde before that.
Yeah. Yep.
That was the kind of whole reinterpretation, or because she had been kind of thrown away at that point.
Now they've reinterpreted her again.
So I know there's been some updates recently on the game figures and the release on those. As far as the game itself, like what are you looking forward to the most in terms of that release? Like, first of all, are you a gamer? Are you expecting to play it? And then what do you expect that's going to do for the studio having that game out there?
I am not really a gamer. I mean, I used to play a lot of video games, but not so much anymore. And it's mostly because when Grand Theft Auto 3 first came out, Eric got it for me for Christmas. And I found myself every moment that I didn't have to do something else, sitting in my underwear in front of the TV playing that game. And I got lost in it where it was bad. And I realized that was happening. And then he got me the next one that came out. GTA 4 or whatever it was, and I was doing it again. So at that point I was deciding maybe I should stop playing video games so much because I kind of leave everything else behind. Like I would plan when I knew Eric was getting me that for Christmas. I planned to take a vacation so I could just spend a few days just sitting there in my underwear doing that, nothing else, just playing that game. So I try to stay away from video games except for some stuff on my phone. So this game is going to be on my phone, so I'm excited about it, and hopefully it'll be a game that I can play a little bit and then put down, then come back to and play a little bit and put down. But my most exciting, the aspect of it that I'm most excited about is the customizer, because that's kind of when we first started talking to these guys, Great Hall Games, about creating this game. That's the one thing that I said has to be included in the game. There has to be a customizer at the beginning of the game where you can choose from different characters and choose all their different armor and different colors so you can customize your own character just like Mythic Legions action figures. And I think that fans are going to find that they're going to go in this customizer and they're going to be using that to plan out action figures that they're going to customize. Because you can easily just go through and with a mouse or with your thumbs quickly choose out collars and armors and stuff, and then go find those parts and put it together and paint it the way that you want it. So I think that it's going to have a little bit different aspect to it than just an element of a video game. It's going to be, it's going to help creators create. But I love the idea of, customizing the figure at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I used to play like wrestling games when they would come out. And I really wouldn't even do the wrestling. Like I wouldn't you do the matches and stuff like that. But the creator wrestler tool that they would have, I would spend all day just creating old school wrestlers that they didn't have in the game.
Yeah.
Because that aspect of it, choosing building your character and choosing the outfit and all that kind of stuff was just so fun for me. So I think, especially for those of us that do customizing, it's going to be a great tool for us to mock something up and see how something would look before actually going and doing it by hand. So I think that's a good point.
Yep. like the storyline for the game is fantastic. It's so immersive, and like the scenes in the game and the action in the game are going to be fantastic. They're beautifully done, beautifully rendered. But like me, we've got a lot of Mythic Legions fans who are not gamers, who
Mhm.
who like playing video games, but they're not like in-depth gamers, who maybe aren't quite as into the tactics part of it as much, and are going to be more into the customizing part of it, and maybe that's where they'll spend most of their time. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and we talked earlier with the, whether it's the PowerCon debut figures or the figure obscura, kind of creating those alternate methods of entry for you guys. I think that the video game could do that as well. I mean, is that something I'm guessing that you guys are expecting that with this game as well? Is that correct?
Well, we never know what to expect anymore, because like we've been in the toy industry for a long time, and we never know what's going to click and what's not going to click. But I mean, it seems to make sense that if you put something like that out, people are into the line, they're into the characters, that they're going to be into a video game of it too. But what we hope, like you just said, what we hope will happen is that people who are into video games and try this out, then they're going to come back and get into the line as well. Fingers crossed. I mean, hopefully, like you said, it's going to be a new avenue for people to discover Mythic Legions, the toy line.
Is there anything within the game that will direct people towards the toy line? Like if let's say I'm, I don't know anything about Mythic Legion or Four Horsemen, and I pick up the game, is there going to be something within the game that lets me know, hey, by the way, there's also this toy line available for this?
We haven't planned for it to be in the actual gameplay itself, but there will be ways through the game that you find out about source horsemen and store horsemen, all of that. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's cool. Awesome.
Nice. Oh, I just lost it. I'm sorry.
That's
whatever
right.
It was, just it just seeped out of my head.
So anything else coming up this year for you guys that you want? I mean, obviously we've talked about MesquiCon. We know that there's probably going to be some information coming out soon about Legions Con 23.
Yep.
Any other shows or events or different things that you guys got going on that you want to promote?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're gonna have all this stuff on sourcehorseman.com. If you scroll down, you'll see a list of upcoming events that we're going to be doing. But I think the soonest one that's coming up is going to be ZoloCon. We do that show every year, so that one's coming up real soon. And then MesquiCon, and we're going to be at Toylanta this year. So I know a lot of people who are fans of Mythic Legions that are kind of down south are going to be excited about that. But in general, we're going to be expanding like nationwide a little bit. Like last year, we did a couple of shows where some Mythic Legions fans and people that we're friends with in the industry graciously held down the fort at what we called street team shows.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool. We want to do a little bit more of that. I don't know if you guys want to host any shows for us, but
I wouldn't be opposed for sure. Looks like we lost Jesse there for a second, but I think those are cool. I think that helps create an opportunity for those folks that aren't on the East Coast that get to see you guys on a regular basis for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when we used to do PowerCon, we'd go out to the West Coast every year. But now that PowerCon is in the Midwest, we're potentially going to be doing shows out west at other venues, and we'll have more news about that coming up later this year too.
Well, speaking of PowerCon, I was not able to make it this past year, but everything I've heard is that obviously it was the new format this year. They've included, it's not just He-Man related. Now there is a big He-Man presence there,
right?
But there's other stuff there. But it sounded like this year, as compared to maybe past years, like you guys were the superstars. Like you guys were the draw. You want to talk about that a little bit and what your plans are maybe with that for this year?
Well, since like normally when we go to PowerCon, we only sell our PowerCon debut figures, and we don't sell any other figures there. We'll have stuff to show. Sometimes we'll have, stuff from new upcoming waves to show in person, but we don't normally sell Mythic Legions product at PowerCon except for the debut figures. But since Val decided to change PowerCon to more of an all-encompassing geek convention, we decided, you know what, we'll bring out some Mythic Legions and see how we do there with in the Midwest with Mythic Legion stuff instead of just the debut figures. We had a couple of debut figures there as well, but we were selling Mythic Legions figures there, and the response was better than we could have imagined. Like, we trucked out a bunch of stuff, and the response to that and the daily sales, like the lines, were just completely unexpected, and we were really excited about it. We always love going to PowerCon. It's one of our favorite shows to do, but this one was just a completely different monster than it usually is. It was awesome.
Well, and I know you guys still had to travel to get to PowerCon this year with it being in Ohio, but obviously that's a little bit easier to bring product to than, say, California.
Yeah, it's like a roughly 8-hour drive from where we're at, so it's not too bad. But yeah, it's way easier than trying to ship stuff out to California to sell. Normally, when we were doing the debut figures at PowerCon when it was in California, we have a friend in the toy industry. He owns Icon Heroes, Pat Wang, and we would ship stuff out there, and either Pat Wang would warehouse it for us, and then our current in studio production manager, George Gaspar, would sometimes load up his car with stuff and bring to PowerCon for us from the warehouse. So we had some help getting stuff there, but we weren't taking out, dozens and dozens of Mythic Legions figures. We were only bringing, a couple of hundred PowerCon debut figures. So it was less of a big ask of those guys to help us out with that. So yeah, now with PowerCon being in Ohio, it's a little bit easier for us. Not easy because it's an 8-hour drive, but it's easier for us to get product there than it would have been to get it to the show in California.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, go ahead, Jesse.
I was going to say, it was my first time going to PowerCon this year, so it was mainly because you guys were there, and I rode with Brian and Greg, and it was just really cool to experience that, seeing those doors open up and see that massive diorama he built, and then all the new All-Stars 5 guys in there, the Furious 4 and everything. It was, and just how much faster each day you guys sold out of stuff.
Yeah.
By the time you got to that third day, it was what, under an hour? The third on Sunday?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot left for Sunday. We normally, like when we do a 2-day show, we normally do about 50-50 for Saturday and Sunday. But for this one, we didn't know what we were going to sell. So we said, you know what, let's just go ahead. Whatever we sell on Friday, whatever we sell on Saturday, let's sell. And then if we have some stuff left over on Sunday, we'll have it left over. Well, by the end of Saturday, or as we were about halfway through Saturday, we were like, this is crazy. This is not what we were expecting to happen here. We should go ahead and save a little bit for tomorrow for those people who weren't able to get here Friday or Saturday. So we held over a little bit more than we were planning to on Sunday, and it still just blew out the door. It was phenomenal. Never expected that.
That's great.
Mythic Legions fans are the freaking best.
They really are. I heard a lot of what, like Jesse said, like a lot of people that hadn't gone to PowerCon before, that even with it being in Ohio and being closer, they may not have gone, but the fact that you guys were there and going to have a presence brings them there. And I'm starting to see that for MuskeCon too. I'm seeing people that are traveling across the country, even some people that are talking about traveling from outside of the country to go to this little convention in Muskegon, Michigan, just to, because you guys are going to have a presence there. So
that's
cool.
Awesome. I love hearing that, because here's one thing, and I've said it a lot before. It happened at Legions Con. It happened at this little show that we were at up in Connecticut this past year. I'm always worried when we go to like a general toy show that people lining up at our booth, all their money is going to get sucked out because of the stuff that they buy for us, and then none of the other vendors in the area are going to get the sales that they want to get. And that doesn't seem to be happening. What seems to be happening is people who have never been to that show before come to see us. They buy stuff from us, and then they go out and they spend at all these other vendor booths. That's what happened in Connecticut. I was really scared because it was a really small show. We had a booth, and there was a line of people, and we sold a lot more stuff there than I was expecting to sell because it was a really small show. But I was more worried that the other vendors weren't going to get taken care of by the customers because they were going to buy our stuff and leave. And that's not what happened at all. A lot of the vendors were coming up to us saying it was awesome because people will come in here, had never been to the show, came here because you guys were here, bought from you guys, and then came out and spent a lot of money out in the rest of the show too. That's fantastic. I love hearing that. That's great. Because it's not that, oh, wait, we're making sales. That's great. That's fantastic. But what's even better is that we're helping out all these other people. We're not only helping out the show by bringing people in to our booth, but it's helping out all these other vendors too. And even at PowerCon, I was worried about that because you guys saw it. There was a line out down the hallway all day, both days, and we had to shut it down like after a half hour after like it was supposed to be closed on Saturday. We had to shut the line down. And I was really worried that the other vendors there weren't going to make any sales. They weren't going to make enough sales. Everybody I talked to said their sales were fantastic. They were really happy with it. So that's awesome when that happens. I freaking love that.
I know a lot of the folks that I talk to, kind of the circles I hang out with, there was some concern on Legions Con this year that, you know, it's a 2-day event. You guys are going to have exclusive figures for both days. You're going to have your own table set up where people are going to be lined up out the building. And, you know, is there going to be any money left in the room to spend at these vendor tables? And so there was a real concern, I think, going into that, like, you know, are we going to be able to be successful as the 3D part companies or whatever with the Four Horsemen having as many people there? And it was crazy the amount of cash that was spent on, you know, across those 2 days at all the different vendors. It was like, I think from everybody that I talked to did considerably better than they thought they were going to do going in. And it's like, you know, folks come in and they wait in line and they get the figures from your guys' tables. And then it's like, okay, now what else can we get to go with it? What dios can we get? What heads can we get? You know, all that kind of stuff. So definitely see that, you know, the attention that you guys bring is not a bad thing. It's a good thing for everybody else that's at the show for sure.
That's great. I mean, I couldn't hope for anything more than that because like I said, I'm always concerned that the vendors are not going to be able to make their sales. And when they do, and I've heard that they've done well, that's, to me, that's, you know, spreading the love. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no complaints other than the air conditioning on Friday night. But someone eventually, I think Ryan Anthony, I think finally figured that the air wasn't even turned on in that room and he went around and turned them all on. So yeah.
Man, I sure felt it the whole weekend. I was behind that table and it was stuffy back there.
I was gonna say, you guys, you had a wall of humans in front of you for 2 days straight, plus the 2 days of G-Con and intern, plus whatever you were doing before we all started showing up. So
This year I vowed that I won't be spending all my time behind the table. I'm going to actually have one of our employees come in and actually do the work that I was doing, so I can actually go around and see everybody at the show, because I got to spend like an hour maybe walking around talking to people and seeing how they were doing as far as show going and everything. And that's not what I want to do. You know, I don't want to be just stuck behind the table the whole time. I want to be out there and, you know, communicating with the people that are in the community.
Yeah. And I didn't make it to PowerCon, but my favorite part of, you know, everybody's videos and pictures and everything that they did was Brad Jones was walking around with Casper was filming. Brad Jones was talking to people and going to the vendor tables, as he stopped at one table and just focused in on you for a bit. And you were shopping as a customer, looking at toys, asking questions, and seeing the enthusiasm on your face as you're shopping for toys is what I think really separates you guys in the toy industry from others, is that you can really feel how much you guys care about this stuff, and you're toy collectors yourself and you enjoy it.
Yeah.
So.
That was at PowerCon?
That was at PowerCon, yeah.
No, I haven't seen that video. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, he was going around, and I think you were looking. I think it might have been a table with had some Migos, I think, on it.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, you like the look on your face, like you can tell you're just an excited toy collector.
Yeah.
It's like that's the guy I want making toys for me, you know?
Well, with most of the time at shows, I don't get to really walk around and actually go see everything until like the second day. Like if it's a Saturday, Sunday show, I usually don't get to walk around too much until like Sunday afternoon or something. But PowerCon, I was lucky enough that, you know, we sold through stuff pretty quickly both days that we had there. And I was able to go walking around a little bit more, but Legions Con, I didn't get that lucky.
No.
There's a lot more work than play at Legions Con for me this year. And I didn't get to hang out afterwards. Like by the time we were done at the end of the day, I was ready to go home and pass out and wait for the next day because I wanted to hang out downstairs with you guys, and I just didn't get the chance to. So next Legions Con, I'm going to make that a point.
Well, I felt bad. One of the times you did get to walk around at Legions Con, I think I was doing something. I was gone from my table for like 20 minutes and I came back and they're like, oh yeah, Cornboy came by. I was like, dang it.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, maybe next time.
No, that's okay.
I gave Steven some crap because I went by his table and he was talking to customers and he was like really into it and he didn't see me stand there. So I walked by, and then later on I told him, you know, I came by your table and you kind of ignored me. So, and he wasn't ignoring me at all. He was doing business and he was really focused on what he was doing.
He was really busy that weekend because
good.
I was trying to help Len with the Wolf King table, and you know, Steven was selling a lot of heads, but then on top of that, he's right behind the My Wife Is Gonna Kill Me table. So he's got his table set up where he's selling heads, and he's got the My Wife Is Gonna Kill Me guys behind him, and they were just hitting him up for autographs on the Furious Four like all day long. So he's trying to make his sales pitch on his painted heads, and he's got these guys hitting him up for autographs. And he was pretty busy. So
yeah,
I think
that's good. I hear he was that busy.
Yeah, that Furious Four set, I think you know, not that he didn't have a big head before, but that put him on a whole new level that weekend.
Put him over the top, huh? Him and Pete both.
Yeah. So
I think Jeremy and Travis are just flabbergasted, but now Pete and Steven have heads so large they can barely carry them now.
Well, I think Travis still has his wife calling him Pelvicus, so he's living on that high. So, all right.
Jeremy came up with those names and those the backgrounds, the bios for them. It's all just genius, pure genius.
It's great.
They're hilarious.
Yeah, the bios were great, and then the photography that Trevor did, where he's got them around the table and all the little knickknacks around the table and stuff. Oh, yeah, really.
I mean,
good.
they look better in person than Trevor's photography, but still.
That's true. That's true. Pictures don't do it justice.
I actually have Trevor's calendar hanging up here above my computer here at home.
I've got mine right next. Well, it's actually my wife's. I got it for my wife, and it's right next to me here.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Mine's in the kitchen.
Good spot for it.
So I can see it as I walk out the door for the day.
Yeah, I never use calendars. I just like look at on my phone, see what day it is, but that one I had to hang up.
Yeah, it's the first one I've had in my house as a physical calendar for probably since I've been in this apartment.
Yeah, it's been years since I've hung the calendar.
Trevor's in the chat, says, damn you,
no.
CB.
Crap, I didn't know he was in the chat. I wouldn't have given him those compliments.
Confirmed.
That beautiful. It's stunning.
Well, we're right at 2 hours. I don't know,
Yes,
Jesse,
sir.
did you have anything else that you wanted to ask or cover?
I mean, I'm sure I could, but yeah, I think we're at a good spot here.
Cornboy, did you have anything else you wanted to promote or talk about?
I mean, obviously, I just want to promote the Necronomous wave. It was a little less than a week left on it, so if you haven't placed your order yet, get in there and do it soon. And if you have, and you know you want more, get in there and get some more of them. The response to it has been amazingly positive. Jeremy gives us weekly reports on how things are going as far as sales and all that kind of stuff. And this wave is just doing phenomenal. And I can't wait till the retailers get it in their hands and see how it does. But so we really appreciate the response we've gotten for it so far, and everything. You know, we really appreciate our fans. We really appreciate everybody who not only buys Four Horsemen product, but anybody who's spreading the word about it. Like I was saying earlier, that guy who posted the video where he was doing the review, and he had bought the Deluxe Legion builder and was complaining about the cost and the amount of paint. The guy just wasn't aware of it, but I saw people in his chat, you know, trying to explain it to him a little bit, and that's what we should really be doing. And you know, I that's all because of the Cabal, and you know, the members of the Cabal, the Legionnaires, the fans of Mythic Legions. They're all just a bunch of crazy positive people, and we freaking love you guys for it. We really appreciate everything you guys do for us. If it wasn't for you guys, said it a million times and I'll keep saying it, we wouldn't be able to make toys for a living. So we thank you guys for that.
Well, we thank you for being on the show. It's been a really fun episode. And, you know, for everybody that joined us in chat tonight, thanks for joining us. Or if you're watching on replay, appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Jesse, you gonna take us out?
I'm finally back. I missed like the last 3 minutes of whatever just happened. So yes, I'll echo. I heard him say thank you. So thank you, Cornboy. Thank you, everybody.
Well, I think Jesse's getting locked up. But once again, thanks everybody. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.
Good night, everybody. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
See everybody soon. Is he back?
We just signed off, Jesse.
Oh.
See ya.
So you missed the end of it there, Jesse.
What
happened? Because I thought I saw you on screen. Were you just locked up?
I couldn't hear you guys. Everything went black.
Oh, wow.
Did you hit